Assalamu alaikum and welcome to my sharing session on the art of visionary leadership. I'm Hussein Osman. This is the third of a 10 series in part 1 that based on chapter 1 of my book, Mahathir, the art of the art of political leadership. In this third series, I will discuss the topic of Mahathir's problem-based leadership learning. We know that Mahathir is a medical doctor by degree, training and practice. He is not a political science graduate. Never in his lifetime he pursued postgraduate in any area related to political science, economics, social sciences, organizational management, or in any other related areas of leadership and politics. By certificate, he has no credential or qualification in political leadership studies. However, he defies the odds. He applies a medical problem-based training experience as the basis for his political leadership journey. In a speech delivered in Singapore on November 13, 2018, he said, "I was a politician first who became a doctor." Many get confused on what Mahathir is trying to say. Most of us might understand that Mahathir is talking about two of his careers, a politician and a medical doctor. His further explanation in the speech, however, pointing towards the application of medical training in politics, specifically a problem-based political leadership. He discovered that medicine was also a good foundation for politics. He said further, "In medicine, when you have a problem, you go into the history, do some physical examination, x-ray and diagnose the disease and give treatment. In politics, it is the same. Administration is also the same. You have a problem, you get to the origins. The problem's history, look at what contributed to the problem, the nature of it, and prescribe the medicine for it." Through this statement, he would like everyone to understand that medicine is also a good foundation for politics. And he was indeed pointing towards the application of medical training in politics, specifically the problem-based political leadership. Former Vice Chancellor of University Utara Malaysia, the late Professor Ahmad Fauzi Muhammad Basri, believed that Mahathir had been applying medical anesthetic treatments in his political leadership. He said, "Dr. Mahathir performed a series of political surgical operations in the party and government. For instance, facing Musa Hitam's opposition before the 1987 UMNO election, he applied this political medical surgical procedure. Initially, he injected a so-called anesthetic in order to damage Musa Hitam's strength in the cabinet." The late Professor Michael Leifer, a former professor of international relations at London School of Economics, once wrote on Mahathir's medical training application in politics. "It may be that his medical training, as well as his personality, has been a factor in shaping a political style that brooks no opposition to his diagnosis and prescriptions. His sense of rectitude in telling Malaysians that they should swallow the equivalent of so many pills a day in their own interest conjures up the image of medical infallibility translated to politics." Mahathir's political leadership skills and mastery are the result of his ongoing experiential and medical training application of the problem-based learning process. Dr. Ong Hein Teck wrote, "Throughout his political career, Dr. Mahathir behaved as the ever-diligent medical doctor, constantly studying the symptoms to diagnose the cause of the ills in his community and country, before proceeding to prescribe the correct treatment to restore good health. Problem is regarded as a basis for political leadership learning. His medical training then helps him to approach problems in a methodical and logical manner. He will take every chance to learn everything valuable to confront the problems through independent self-directed learning." He mentioned in A Doctor in the House, My training as a doctor also helped me to approach problems in a rigorously methodical and logical manner, another skill that would help me in politics. Problem is regarded as a basis for political leadership learning and trains him to become a good leader. His medical training then helps him to approach problems in methodical and logical manner. In short, Mahathir is sharing his experience of using medical problem-based learning or PBL. Problem-based learning is one of the major learning approaches in medicine established since the 1970s in Canada, Europe and the United States. It is a form of active and student-centered learning approach powered and triggered by problem. Mahathir had been using PBL in leadership learning since the early days of his political career. The first clear evidence is during the 1969 general election when facing with the election defeat and losing of his Kota Selatan parliamentary seat in Kedah. It was a historic election in Malaysian politics, not because Mahathir had lost his seat, but the aftermath of the election that instigated the racial riot of the May 13, 1969. Mahathir took this incident as a symptom of a more serious problem. He used a problem-based approach to analyze the scenario and discovered that the Tunku Abdul Rahman's hubris of previous successes confines him from looking clearly to the alarming signs of interracial distress at the ground. Mahathir directed his harsh criticism towards the Tunku, resulting in his expulsion from UMNO. This problem-based leadership learning experience is discussed thoroughly in chapter 4 of this book. The second Mahathir's problem-based leadership learning experience is based upon his subsequent expulsion from UMNO between September 1969 to March 1972. For Mahathir, albeit painful, his leadership learning exploration during this period is considered as the most fruitful learning experience. The Malay Dilemma is the greatest learning outcome that was born out of his problem-based leadership learning during this period of the political wilderness. This experience is discussed in details throughout chapter 5 of this book. The third Mahathir's problem-based leadership learning experience is based upon the selection process of the Deputy Prime Minister under Tun Hussein Onn administration. Discussion on this experience is available in chapter 6. The fourth Mahathir's problem-based leadership learning experience is based on the 1987 UMNO leadership crisis. It was the most challenging moment since his appointment as a fourth Prime Minister in July 1981. The selected problem trigger for discussion and simulation is focusing on the complexity of managing a leadership team and preparing for the succession plan. This problem-based leadership learning is discussed in chapter 7 of this book. The fifth Mahathir's problem-based leadership learning experience begins since the early days of his retirement in 2003. After retirement, he found himself in the position of a critic who could not accept weaknesses shown by his successors. He criticized Abdullah Badawi and forced him to resign, which the latter did in 2009. His dissatisfaction over Najib's leadership forced him to return to politics in 2016. The discussion on his post-retirement leadership contained in chapter 8 and 9 of the book. Mahathir was elected as the 7th Prime Minister on May 10, 2018, but chose to resign on February 24, 2020. Treachery, betrayal and backstabbing are to be blamed. Chapter 10 of this book discusses events that led to his resignation. Mahathir, The Art of Political Leadership, focuses specifically on Mahathir's problem-based leadership learning, an approach well known in the educational world as problem-based learning or PBL. This book combines 3 different disciplines: political science, leadership, and educational theory and practice. Indeed, since his early days in politics, Mahathir considered leadership as a learning process. He is truly the best leader who thinks himself as a student. Simon Sinek observes, leadership is an education, and the best leaders think of themselves as students, not the teachers. As an educational process, Mahathir's leadership learning approach is a problem-based approach. In the next video, I will be sharing the importance of problems as the basis for leadership learning. I would strongly recommend you to get a copy of the book to learn more about Mahathir's approach in his leadership learning. To get the copy of the book and further information on our leadership training program, please click the link in the video's description below. And to get the notification on my next videos, please subscribe, like and share this channel. Till then, thank you and have a great day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.